If there has ever been a team that needed to get back on the field, it's this Conway team. After a dominant first 9 weeks of the season, the Wampus Cats have had to sit with a tough loss for 2 weeks. But tonight the road begins to the ultimate goal, a state title, something Conway football has not had since 1967. The guys who will call the game tonight join me now. It's Levi, Gilbert, and Tim Roach. Guys, we haven't been together since the Bryant game. We've had a couple of weeks to think about it also. What did you both learn about this Conway team that night? Levi, the floor is yours.
Man, this is a tough one because, I mean, I'm sure both of us, like everybody involved with the program, has been wrestling with that question for a lot. I mean, I had initial feelings as the game ended, and then over the weekend, those feelings kind of evolved and morphed, and then even through the week, I just kept thinking about it. I think what I learned was that offensively, we can do things to score the ball. I mean, obviously we had success running the ball in the first quarter. They took that away. We stalled for a little bit, but then we figured out ways to keep scoring points. So that was encouraging. I mean, we had over like 500 yards of total offense. Very encouraging. I think what I've really learned, though, is defensively, we still have a long way to go because as good as we performed offensively, our defense just gave up a ton of yards, and it was really happening. Well, pretty much past the first quarter, it was happening all night. So there's a lot of things to try and figure out over there because Bryant, I mean, they've got three huge threats, really four huge threats on the field at any given time. And they were able to find success running the ball and passing the ball. And there's just a lot of things we're going to have to figure out if we're going to be able to slow that down. So I think overall, I'm leaning more towards I learned more about what our defense has to be able to do and then I did about the offense. I feel like the offense kind of did their job for 3 of the 4 quarters.
Tim?
We need to figure out a few things to beat Bryant still. I mean, some of the same things are in play. Levi talked about it. I mean, they're bigger, fast. We talked about this before the game. They're bigger, faster than we are in most every position. We got a couple of spots where we have a little bit of an edge. But across the board, we have to overcome that with efficiency. We were 0 for 3 in the red zone, scoring attempts that we could have had. We did score in the red zone, but we had 3 times and we went down there and didn't get any points. You can't do that against Bryant. I think truly overall, I thought the performance was okay. We were 5 points in the fourth quarter. We were down 5 points. And so it was there for the taking. We just could not get over the hump there in the fourth quarter. But let me say this about the whole evening. I thought it was a fantastic crowd. Everything about the night was fantastic. If Coach James ever wondered about what kind of support he had out of the Conway community, they really showed up and showed out. 10 to 12,000 people there easily, and lots of folks watching from all across the country. This was a game that everybody had their eye on, and I think the Wampus Cats represented themselves well. We just got a little bit more to do.
I agree. And so we're 2 weeks out from possibly being able to see that team again, or 2 victories out from seeing the Bryant team again. Plus, they have to do the same thing. So another shot at them would come in War Memorial Stadium if both teams make it there. The paths, though, begin tonight. For Conway, it's Bentonville West, and the Wolverines finished in 3rd place in the 7A West behind Fayetteville and Bentonville. So let's focus on these next 4 quarters. Levi, tell us what we need to know about West.
Yeah, so I think offensively, they're going to look kind of familiar to what you see from your Wampus Cats in terms of what they like to do. They like to run 4 receiver sets. They like to pass the ball a lot. If you look at their run to pass play ratio, it's like 74% pass and 26% run, or somewhere in the neighborhood. Actually, I think it was 76-24. So they like to pass. That's what they want to do. So offensively, they're going to look very similar to what your Wampus Cats do. But defensively, I think just across the board, they're not at the same level as what your Wampus Cats are. So I think that's going to be really key to us finding a victory is, can we shut down their passing game? Can we, make them settle for field goals when they really want to get 6 points? Can we force them to do and risk things that they don't want to do because they feel like they've got to keep up with getting touchdowns? And then offensively for us, I think we're going to have success running the ball. I really see this as like another type of Fort Smith Northside. That night, if you remember a few weeks ago, Des Davidson had his best night of the season. I think we could see something like that again. So those are the things that I'm looking for when I look at this Bentonville West team.
Tim, what about you and the Wolverines?
couple of things that stand out for me is that the first thing is they have about 8 guys that play both ways. And so you see that at some, on some teams that you're just trying to get the best players out there and you need help in different positions. But at the 7A level, that's a lot of players playing both sides of the ball. And with the way that we go, if you had to say to Tim, hey, Tim, what's one thing you don't want to do against the Wampus Cats? You don't want to be tired. And so when you've got guys that are going to be playing both sides of the ball, that's just a bad spot for them. The other thing is, this will be one of the few teams that we're going to be completely, from a size perspective, other than one guy who will stand out, who is only 6'9" and about 300. Everybody else is very undersized offensively and defensively on the up front. So we're going to have some advantages size-wise for the first time in a long time. So that's, to me, if we can dominate the line of scrimmage, I think we're going to be okay.
So I'm glad you brought him up. That mountain of a young man. I was watching the Northside game last week, like I'm sure a lot of Wampus Cat fans were, Northside and Bentonville West. And yeah, he stands out. So he's 6'9", 300 pounds.
He is. His last name is Jeffcoat. He's going to Rice. So he's a smart guy as well. Yeah, that's so he and Giovanni will have a time to talk. But the thing about it is, when you're 6'9", that sounds great. In football, it can be a little bit of a detriment. We've got guys that are undersized that are going to be moving around him pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he's one of those players that you mentioned that has to play both ways. So it's a tough spot for him to be in.
All right, guys, as we wrap up the round table, I know we've covered a lot of ground here. Any final thoughts from both of you?
Man, I just think that your Wampus Cats have a great path to getting to a championship game. And I know we've been saying that the last few years, although, I mean, last year was a really difficult path to try and get there. You had to go through Bryant to get there. By securing that 2 spot this year, you don't have to go through Bryant to get there. Now, is it going to be easy to potentially have to go up to Fayetteville and do it? No, we learned that lesson the hard way 2 years ago. But if you look at what we were able to do last year against Fayetteville, I think you've got confidence that, hey, maybe this is the best shot in almost 30 years of us getting back to a championship game.
I'm so excited to see how they bounce back from a loss. I mean, I hate losses, but this is a team that was rolling, absolutely rolling, mercy ruling everybody they played. And then you hit Bryant and all stop, right? So how they bounce back, how they position themselves, what the bye week was like for them, how they responded to the coaching staff. This is going to be, I mean, it was Buck James' first loss in a long time. I'm sure he wasn't real happy about it, but it was one of those things where you haven't faced this kind of adversity. You did. Now, how do you respond? I'm looking forward to that.
All right, guys, thanks. We're a few hours away from kickoff. We'll be live from John McConnell Stadium. Pregame 6:30. We'll kick it off at 7. You can watch the game tonight live on Conway Corp Channel 5 or online at conwaycorp.com/WC2Go. Guys, thanks. Have fun tonight.